Hey everyone, it's Steven. Today I have the 2024 Mazda CX-90 Turbo Premium. So this is going to be a really short review because I don't have too much time with this car before the sun sets here. Really quickly we'll show you guys the key fob. Looks nice and sleek, all the buttons are on the side. And this one here is in deep crystal blue mica. Very gorgeous color, love this. Especially on an overcast day like this, it still looks really, really good. Doing a quick walk around of the exterior, I mean, I think this vehicle looks fantastic. Mazda really knocked it out of the park in terms of keeping it minimalistic and not too big of a redesign, but compared to the CX-9 at least, but still making it look very handsome. One of my favorite parts of this vehicle, especially on the exterior, is going to be the dynamic turn signals. They actually fade in and out now, kind of like Ford Mustangs and some of the new BMW products, so it looks very premium and looks awesome. Cool to see this on a non-luxury vehicle, but with this CX-90, Mazda is definitely planning or trying to sell into the more upscale markets. You've got some really nice upscale looks on this vehicle as well. That chrome Mazda at the bottom looks awesome on the side profile. You've got these gorgeous 21-inch alloy wheels on this premium trim, which is one of the higher trims available. Mazda did a lot of cool things with the CX-90 because this is an evolution from their CX-9, so don't really know what made them want to start naming it something different, but they've got the CX-50, the CX-90, and soon the CX-70 as well. And this car is just a looker on the inside and the outside. The interior looks very premium, much more upscale than a lot of the competitors like the Honda Pilot, though I will say the Toyota Grand Highlander is definitely giving this a run for its money as well. And before we go over the interior, I did want to show you guys, this is Mazda's new 3.3-liter turbo inline-six engine. They are very, very proud of this engine. It is a brand new engine for this vehicle, and it's kind of a big deal. You can kind of see they've got the inline-six logo right there. And notice that every single trim of this vehicle is called turbo something. So they're really proud of this turbocharged inline-six. It makes 280 horsepower and 369 pound-feet of torque on this trim. And on the higher trims, you can actually get this tuned to 340 horsepower. Pretty incredible for this vehicle. So let's go into the interior here, and I think this is an area that Mazda has always really excelled at. And the CX-90 is no exception here. I will say one thing that kind of disappoints me is that there's supposed to be ambient lighting, and I have it set to the highest setting and you can't really see anything at all. So I don't really know if I would consider that ambient lighting. You also can't adjust colors or anything like that. This is the save screen on the not touchscreen. So this is actually just a 10.25-inch display. That's something that Mazda still hasn't really gotten right yet either. So only on the higher trims do you get the 12.3-inch partial touchscreen. It's very, very strange. But basically, you still have to use this dial right here to actually control your screen. It just feels archaic in this day and age. I will say at least Mazda has a great infotainment system. The settings are easy to navigate. Super, super nice. But you do get Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, and it's wireless on the higher trims. On the lower trims, you only get wired, but this one you do get wireless. And I mean, just taking a step back here and looking at the interior, it does look very upscale. I love the look of the steering wheel. It's very, very firm, leather, feels really good to touch. And this actual like setup here just looks very, very upscale with all of the chrome accents and everything. So Mazda did a good job making this vehicle feel premium. And I mean, they've always kind of done that with most of their vehicles, so this is no exception here. Notice that this looks like an analog gauge cluster, but it's actually a 7-inch digital screen in the middle that you can actually configure a few small things. You can configure the display of this, which is kind of honestly not really interesting, but you can do that. And otherwise, the display is everything you pretty much need. It's not too exciting. You do have adaptive cruise control on this model, works very well, really liked that. I will also say that all these buttons feel very clicky and feel very high quality. Mazda has done a really great job of that. This car feels firm, it feels well put together, and especially like on the door panels, for example, all of these buttons, you know, on Hyundais and Kias, they still feel pretty, you know, cheap, I would say. But on the Mazda products here, they feel premium. They have this nice chrome outline trim sort of thing. and I love the look of it. I also love this two-tone contrast with the bronze stitching all throughout the cabin. I also love it on the air vents. It's super cool. It's a very, very nice touch. And I think overall, Mazda just really did a good job with the cabin. I will say the pricing of this vehicle is a little intriguing. So this car starts at about $40,000 for the base trim, which is a pretty good offering. And the trim I have here is the Premium, which is one of the higher trims, and it starts at $50,000. So now you're getting into the same money as a Hyundai Palisade calligraphy, right? And I love the calligraphy interior. I think it is still better than this interior, but Mazda does some things better, right? Like I said, the quality, the fit and finish feels more well put together than the Korean counterparts. Comparing the interior of this to the Hyundai Palisade calligraphy is pretty interesting because I think the Mazda does some things better, but I really like the calligraphy's look in general. It looks more upscale, and the calligraphy was only like 53K or something like that. So, you know, this car can get over 60K for the highest trims if you go for that tuned engine with 340 horsepower instead. So that's a lot of money, and Mazda's definitely selling this car as a premium counterpart to their competitors. And I mean, you've got things like the Jeep Grand Cherokee, which the new redesign did great things for that vehicle. And like I said, the Grand Highlander, the Honda Pilot that people have been raving about, and the Volkswagen Atlas that just got redesigned. So I mean, this is a very competitive market right now in the mid-size SUV segment, and Mazda has to do a lot to keep up. And I think they've achieved that with this vehicle, but I still don't think they're like class leading in every way, right? I feel like Hyundai and Kia, when they came out with the Palisade Telluride twins, they just did such a great job. And I mean, I really feel like that amps up the competition in the market. And now you've got the CX-90, which is really such a great vehicle. In terms of driving, super fun vehicle to drive. It's got that typical Mazda peppiness, so it's really spry and, dare I say, easy to toss around. This is a 3-row SUV, so I wouldn't really toss this car around. But it does feel pretty fast, and it feels a bit more athletic than some of the other counterparts like the Hyundai Palisade or the Kia Telluride. So I mean, Mazda definitely has the driving dynamics down, and they do well in that department. The ride quality itself is fine. I do feel like the Palisade and Telluride ride slightly better in terms of just a lower sound ceiling, and also just in general the overall quietness of the cabin. I did notice quite a bit of road and wind noise when I was driving this on freeway speeds, and I mean, I'm in Philly, so don't have the best roads here, but at the same time, I do expect the vehicle to be slightly quieter given the price point, because at this point, you're almost competing with things like, you know, a Lexus or things like that, right? So you definitely want the quietness to be the same as a luxury competitor. The center console area is quite clean and looks good, and I do like this texture. It feels good. You've got My Drive, which is really just their different drive modes. I don't really know why it's called My Drive. I don't know what that stands for. I feel like it should be more obvious. But yeah, you've got Sport, Off-Road, and then of course Normal. You've got your typical layout here, and I do love the physical climate controls. This car is very usable and practical from, you know, just a usability standpoint. This car does well. Like, everything is easy to find, nothing is difficult, nothing is gimmicky, right? I think this car does that part really well. I just really don't like this. It reminds me of older Lexus products too, right? I feel like Mazda just really needs to get into the, you know, 21st century here and actually start using some of the touchscreens and maybe bring this a little forward and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, honestly, for people who like not having a touchscreen, I think they'll really like this vehicle because this car does a good job of feeling modern without having the touchscreen. The second row passengers do get a decent amount of headroom and legroom. And these seats are actually quite comfortable. I do love captain's chair seats. They feel great. You've got some USB-C ports here. You do have a digital display there as well. No heated seats on this trim, but that is available on the higher trims. And things look good from back here. You have large windows, great visibility. And overall, the second row is definitely a nice place to be. Third row, I really think most people will be keeping it down unless you're transporting little ones here and there. I'll show you guys what the cargo space looks like. It's quite tiny. You do get a hands-free rear liftgate though, which is pretty cool. But look at this. Pretty much only room for this one small carry-on suitcase, my backpack, water bottles, pretty standard stuff here, but you can see the third row backs up right up against it, and you really won't want anyone in the third row except for very tiny humans. Overall, I love the looks of this Mazda CX-90. It looks fantastic. I think they did a great job evolving it from the CX-9, which already was a very handsome vehicle. I love the front. The chrome looks great. The daytime running lights look great. The wheels look great, and I love that chrome accent on the bottom of the side profile. Also on the windowsills as well. And yeah, just the interior looks great. Mazda did a really good job with this. I feel like it is definitely competitive with the Hyundai and Kia, which, you know, for a while nothing was. And now you've got the new Honda Pilot and all that sort of stuff, the Toyota Grand Highlander. So this market is getting very interesting and heated. And I will say, like, at the 50K price point, this is compelling. But there are other options too. And I think all of them are very, very good and fantastic vehicles to drive.